Well, welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. And of course, on this show, we discuss so many of the issues facing boomers, their parents, and what we know, of course, is an aging population. And I just want to welcome everybody. We got a great show today, as we always do. But I can't thank all of you enough for all the support and getting your friends and family to listen to the show. Of course, you can do that through iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker. You could download our free app on your iPhone or Android phone. Just type in Aging Boomers and download it, and you'll get updated on a regular basis. So we're getting just a tremendous amount of support out there, probably because we're giving some great information. And we got, as I say, another great show today, which is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, a professional senior placement and elder care management organization that has a national network of advisors to help in determining the right path for seniors in receiving proper care and even supervision. So whether it's in-home care, assisted living, residential, or memory care, get the necessary advice from a senior care advisor in your area by calling Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you can go to www.seniorcareauthority.com. I'm very excited about our show today. We have with us Dr. Stephen Cain, who's better known as Dr. Steve. So Dr. Steve is a chiropractor, author, and award-winning public speaker who has focused his studies and his practice on brain health and performance. While in chiropractic school, he enrolled in a postgraduate diplomat program called Functional Neurology. This is a field focused on natural ways to optimize the human brain. He is close to ascertaining his diplomat in neurology and has been doing his own extensive research on neuroplasticity for the last 5 years. He leads various workshops and seminars on brain health and founded the company Whole Brain Health, a health coaching company for seniors in the early stages of memory loss. He's also a fellow Michigander, and welcome, Dr. Steve, to the Aging Boomer. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Frank. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, great to have you on. I mean, this is an issue, that we hear and see all over. I mean, all of a sudden, brain games and this and, how to strengthen your brain. So tell us more about whole brain health. What is it? How did you get started with it? And I guess, another question I have, and maybe I'm throwing too much at you here, but you're a chiropractor, and kind of how did you move, in a sense, from that field into doing this as well?
Quite a few wonderful questions there, Frank. Let's see if I can tackle all of them. Okay. So the last question that you asked was, how, as a chiropractor, did I end up working with the brain? And while I was in chiropractic school, I enrolled in a program called Functional Neurology, which really connected the spine to the nervous system and the brain. The more that I learned about the brain, the more I realized that was much more so my passion than was working with the spine. So the more I invested in it, the more I learned about it, the more I applied these concepts of what creates for a better brain to myself, the better my own life got, the happier I got, and the more I wanted to share this with other people. Now, the company Whole Brain Health, as you mentioned earlier, it's a health coaching company, which means that we help seniors adopt brain-healthy lifestyles, which to me is at the core of brain training. There's no one magical pill, there's no one magical particular brain exercise that you're going to find online that's really going to serve everyone's brain the best. It's all about figuring out for the individual what's going to serve their brain the best. And then the $10 billion question, how do you actually make the change? Because changing your habits is not an easy thing to do.
Right. So my wife is on my case, which I agree with, and like we all know, we should be exercising. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you hear it all the time: 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week. And so many of us should be doing it more, and those of us that don't, how do we then get motivated to not only do physical training, but to do brain training per se? How do you get people to do this?
And again, it all comes down to the individual. What's going to be best for them? What's most motivating for them? Some people just find a way to make it fun is what they need to do. Some people think of exercise as going to the gym and huffing and puffing and just pushing yourself through something that you don't really want to do so that you can reap benefits later on. While for most people, just a brisk walk is enough of a cardiovascular exercise to get the brain to create new blood vessels, to actually grow a bigger brain if they weren't exercising before. So finding something that's fun, something that you enjoy doing, I think for most people is a great place to start. And also, and for some people, it's finding a way to just keep themselves accountable. So most people, they want to create these changes, and particularly with the new year coming up in a month and a half, everyone's going to be thinking, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to exercise. It's something I need to do. And they start out doing it, but then there's no system or effective system of accountability to make sure that they continue to do it. And if they're not doing it, how do they check in with themselves, or who is checking in with them to help them re-strategize or come up with a different approach to making these changes? Trial and error, if you keep doing it, will, for most people, eventually work. Perhaps you start out trying to go for a walk outside, and then that doesn't work, it's not fun enough, and then you try a social group and a social group exercise, and for some reason that's not entertaining or stimulating enough, and then you go to a dance group, and then you find a marvelous way to have fun, to keep your body engaged, and something that you enjoy enough where you're just going to continue to stick with it just because you enjoy doing it.
Got it. So let's paint a scenario here. So I'm in my 50s, 60s, whatever. I'm becoming a little more forgetful. I'm reading all sorts of things about Alzheimer's and dementia, and it's scaring me. And I say, I'm committed now. I want to strengthen my brain, as people you hear about. So I come to you. What are the next steps? What happens?
We do an initial consultation, so we figure out exactly what it is that you're looking for, and one of the most important things is we figure out what's the greatest opportunity for the improvement of your brain. And that's one of the reasons that I started up this company and that I'm so excited about it, is because I really feel like it's filling in this void in the world of brain health. There's so much information out there. Everyone knows about different things that are good for the brain, but very few people know how to prioritize what's going to be best for their individual brain. Mm-hmm. So for some people, they need to improve the nutrition. That's where they need to start. For some people, they need to start physically exercising more. Some people may need to challenge their brain in new ways. Some people may need to start meditating. It depends on the person and what's going to serve their own individual brain the best. So we find out where you're at right now, where you want to be, and then we come up with a custom plan to help get you there.
So, you hear about these brain games. I mean, I'm seeing, I don't know what it is, I'm seeing more and more advertising for it. All right. Is it effective? I mean,
it depends on the game, and it depends on the person. But for most people, for just about everyone out there, any one individual game, whether it's an online game or it's Sudoku or crossword puzzles, any one game is not sufficient enough to train the entirety of the brain, because we're capable of doing so many different things. We're capable of art, of communication, of math, of science. There's so many different things that we can and should be doing with our brain. And we want to engage all different parts of it, because if there's any particular part you don't use, then what happens, Frank?
You lose it.
You lose it.
Yeah.
So you want to engage everything. You want a variety. You want novel cognitive exercises. And online brain training games are not inherently superior to any other form of mental challenge. So if you go out to learn a new language, or if you're you're going to a humor class, or you're doing online brain games, there's no reason to think that any one is inherently better than another. And for most people, I think that there's practical ways to exercise their brain where they wouldn't need to go on the computer to do it. Just balancing your checkbook for some people is a good enough mental challenge in and of itself. And just doing that, just giving themselves credit for the things that they're already doing, I think is a healthier way to think about mentally exercising yourself. So
I interviewed a woman quite a while ago who talked about playing, a musical instrument as a way of, improving the brain and strengthening it. An instrument that, maybe they wanted to always learn how to play the piano and they never did, and you learn how to play it later in life, or an example of that. Is that something that in cases you recommend doing as well?
Certainly. And again, it comes back to what's most enjoyable. If you can do something that you enjoy doing, that a lot of times is a very healthy stimulus to the brain. And if you're challenging it to do something new, then that's another wonderful. So if you can combine the two of those, then absolutely, I am all for that.
Okay. I mean, everything you say makes sense. It makes absolute sense.
Wonderful.
What research has shown that, the value, that everything that we're talking about, whether it's exercise, learning a new instrument, all the different things we've been talking about, has research gone into this, or are we years away from really seeing the results of this yet?
Oh, the research is already there. It is definitely already there. They've shown that in seniors in their mid-70s, if they go from not exercising to exercising, they can expect to have a bigger brain, more blood vessels in their brain, and a better wired brain. There's a theory of, well, it's not so much a theory anymore as it is just a well-understood concept of cognitive reserve. They've done tons of studies, and they found that people who have mentally challenged themselves throughout their lives, the people that went to college and got an education, that then went on to engage in challenging jobs throughout most of their life, that these people have what's called cognitive reserve, or the ability for their mind to resist damage to their brain. So even though the brain degenerates, like every other part of the body does at some point, they can still connect the dots because they've mentally challenged themselves. They've created so many different connections throughout their brain, throughout their life. Same goes for nutrition, and studies in meditation are starting to catch up. Now, what the most exciting research that's starting to come out now is what happens when you combine these different things together. Previously, most of the research had been just on physical exercise, or just on nutrition, or just on the cognitive exercise. As they start to take a multi-pronged approach, they're finding that there's really potent benefits that people can get. A study just came out of UCLA a couple months ago. It was done on 10 people, and 9 out of the 10 had significant improvements in their cognition. 2 of these people had Alzheimer's. And they got to, and there was one person that was late-stage Alzheimer's that didn't get any better, but there was a mid-stage, early-stage Alzheimer's, and several other people with a mild cognitive impairment. 9 out of those 10 had significant improvements in their cognition when they did everything that they could for their brain. And that's what I find the most exciting, and what the future of brain health is really going to start to latch onto once they really start to focus the research in this particular area.
For those that do watch television, not everybody does, but for those that watch television, or even if you're on the internet, whatever the case may be, it just seems that you can't get away from any type of advertising geared towards, the boomers. I'm talking, medications and, try this when you have this issue, try to talk to your doctor about this. And there are just so many different ads out there to promote, healthy, healthy brain. So what are the things, I guess, just for, I want to understand, I know our listeners will want to understand, what are some of the things to be careful about? I'm sure you see some things out there that you just shake your head and go, what a ripoff. What should people be careful about that they don't get, suckered into paying for something that is just, not there? How do you find out about this stuff?
That old saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. I think that's a great way to think about perhaps supplements. A lot of times people think that, all you have to do is take this one little pill, and then your brain's going to be so wonderful. You can remember everything you want. It's going to process so much quicker, and you're going to have a powerful brain from just taking one little pill. Right. Now, that one little pill is not going to affect the chemistry of your body like altering the majority of your diet. It's the big picture that people really need to keep at the forefront of their mind as they approach the health of their brain. There's no one particular online mental exercise. There's no one specific individual food or pill or tablet that's really going to have a significant impact on the health of most people's brains. There are some particular exceptions. Some people do have a particular lack of a particular nutrient, and they may do well with a supplement. But most people, it's the big picture, the big lifestyle changes that are going to have the greatest impact on how the brain performs.
Good stuff. So Tom, we have people that, even though our show is based here in California, and you're in California as well, we have listeners around the country, and I understand even around the world now. So talk about your services. Talk about how you can help people, obviously, on a local basis. Are you able to assist people who may not be in Northern California, or do you have recommendations for them that are looking for assistance in this area?
Yeah, certainly. And it depends on what the person needs. Some people just need information, and they can go ahead and make the changes themselves. They can get quite a bit of good information on my website, wholebrainhealth.com. And I'm also available through Skype or through phone conversation to help people identify the best things they can do for their brain and to help them make the change. As for people that are local, we do group workshops and also one-on-one in-person health coaching. And it's a lot of fun. The group workshops, we get in a bigger and bigger crowd, and it's spreading through more and more senior organizations. And part of it is just because they're having fun. And also it's that system of accountability where you see someone, on a regular weekly basis, and everyone's talking about the different things that they're doing for their brain. And, most people are making these changes gradually, but they're making the changes and they're feeling the benefits. So anyone that's local, I'd love to see you face-to-face at a group workshop or one-on-one. And if you're not local, Skype and phone conversation works as well, too.
Great. Are people in your field more and more specializing in this? Are you finding some peers around the country doing similar types of work, or is this pretty unique?
One of the reasons that I started up this company is because it's so unique. It's combining the health coaching aspect with what's good for the brain, particularly for seniors. Now, there's a lot of the health coaching industry is growing quite a bit, and there's all sorts of research on neuroplasticity and different things that people can do for the brain. But to combine the two of them, I only know of one other person in this country that's doing something analogous to this. And again, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start it up. I called every single senior organization in the local area, and none of them have any type of brain health programs that help people figure out the best thing they can do for their brain and then to actually help them make the change. So that's why I'm so excited and ambitious to spread this word and spread these programs, because I know that when it's all said and done, it's going to help out a lot of people.
Yeah, what you're doing is great. So somebody who says, well, my father was a scientist, my mother was a university professor, both, doctorates and all of that. I don't need to do all this. I got the good genes. What would you say to that?
I'd say, why not make the best of what you have in any situation in life? They say that intelligence is perhaps about 50% genetically determined, which means that the other 50% is going to be more so based on your lifestyle. So if you can make yourself more intelligent, if you can give yourself more aptitude for life, why not do it? It pretty much always results in a better life. And when it comes to aging, particularly as the baby boomers are getting older and they're approaching the age and getting to their 80s, where close to 50% of people have some form of dementia, why not give yourself the greatest likelihood that doesn't happen to you? To me, it's worth it, regardless of who your parents are or where you came from.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Very good point. So, just more words of wisdom for our listeners. Any thoughts you have just for someone to kind of get going, get in their right frame of mind? No pun intended, but just how does someone kind of get started? What do you recommend?
I suggest being smart about being smart. So be tactful in how you approach improving the health of your brain, which first and foremost means starting in the right direction. There's all sorts of different things that people are aware of that they can do that are wonderful for the brain. Figure out the one best thing that's going to be best for your individual brain, and then come up with a very intelligent plan on how you're going to ensure that happens. So you definitely want to ask yourself, what is the greatest opportunity for the improvement of your brain? So, Frank, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What would you say is the greatest opportunity for the improvement of your brain?
Well, I'm being in the business and then dealing with families who unfortunately are confronted with other family members with dementia and things. I'm pretty conscious, and I tried not to do things in repetition. In other words, if I'm I'll used to do solitaire all the time, on my phone, it would just relax me. And I'd win all the time. So I said, you know what? That's not much of a challenge anymore. Let's do something else. Somebody said, hey, try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. I do still work at that, but I do make a mess of things. So I just tried to do different things to give my brain a challenge. I'm just pretty conscious of that. Even if I take a drive somewhere, I don't necessarily go the same way all the time. I'll take a different way, try a new route. So I don't know. That's kind of what I've, people told me that are professionals in the industry to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's wonderful. That's definitely a great way to create new connections in your brain. But if you're already doing that, if you're already making that a habit, then I'm asking you to think about what's the something different that you could do. Would it be to improve your diet, to physically exercise more, to sleep more, to better manage stress? what's
I would say the first two. I mean, I need to exercise more. Okay, and I don't know. A lot of people always can improve my diet. I don't have a huge weight problem, but I could always improve my diet. So yeah. So there's always work to do. Always work to do with that. So, but hey, Dr. Steve, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. It was very enlightening, and I hope people will go to your website. I've been there. A lot of great information. Go to wholebrainhealth.com. Dr. Stephen Cain, check it out. And I just so much want to thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, Frank. I had a good time, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that you start to exercise more, because I know your brain will be much happier with it in your life.
I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal. All right, we'll have you back. We're going to have you back in a few months, or we'll you and I offline. We'll pick a date, and then I'll let you know how my progress is going with that. How's that?
That sounds wonderful, Frank. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining us again. Check us out: iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, a lot of different ways to get our shows and keep friends and family involved with that. And a lot of good information. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon.